Hey everyone, my name is Scruffy and we are finally back with some Dragonflight Season 2 guides. All of our guides come from our official website stormfate.com, where you can find all the guides, including routes for every dungeon and the weak arrows we use. I will be explaining every dungeon under 5 minutes, making sure that you learn everything that you need to know about the upcoming dungeons from Dragonflight Season 2. Whenever I talk over the dungeon, you will find the important informations again listed on the note in the top right corner throughout this video. Give this video a like, and if you hit the subscribe button, you can really help out our channel a lot. But I know if you don't want to do this, you can also just share this guide with your friends or guildmates, and that would be awesome. And without further ado, let's hop into our Dragonflight Season 2 guides. On your way to the first boss, you will always encounter the same type of enemies. Armored Minstrels use Cloud Guard, which blocks attacks from in front. They also create Pressurized Blast, which knocks players away in a 10 yards radius around them when this cast finishes. Always make sure that at least one player faces the Lurking Tempest, otherwise it starts attacking random players with Lightning Bolts. Gust Soldiers attack random players with Rushing Wind, and Wild Vortex cast Wind Bolt. They also cast Vortex, which will stun a player if not interrupted. Cloud Princes use Turbulence to push players away, which also cannot be interrupted. They also spawn a large Void Zone, which must be avoided. The first boss is very similar to its old version from Cataclysm. Dodge the tornadoes which circle around the boss, first far away, and every half minute they circle close around the boss. The boss summons the Lurking Tempest from before, which have to be faced by at least one player, so they're not engaging into the fight. New to this boss are the little orbs that deal damage coming into contact with them, and while players dodge them, just keep interrupting the boss's lightning bolt, which targets a random player. The enemies you will encounter after first boss, before you encounter the second boss Alterus, will feature 3 different types of enemies. Turbulent Squall use Cloudburst, which deals heavy damage to all players if not interrupted. We couldn't see them casting Hurricane anymore, but this might be re-implemented again because these mobs are doing nothing as long as you interrupt them. Empyrean Assassin deal heavy tank damage and also Shadow Step to a random player and deal damage to them. Their poison debuff was also not present during the testing on the PTR, but keep an eye out on this being potentially re-implemented. Make sure to interrupt their Vapor form, otherwise they take 70% less damage. And last but not least, the young Storm Dragon. He uses a Frontal Breath towards a random player, which is deadly if not avoided. Their Wing Buffet deals AoE damage to all players, but you can stay in the green ring, which heals players and enemies inside of it. Make sure to move the dragon out of it. Until you face the second boss, you will encounter just a mix of more mobs you have already encountered previously, just a colorful mix of all of them. Deal with their abilities as previously explained. All the players that experienced Cataclysm back in the days will remember Alteros pretty well. Little tornadoes will knock players up, a Frontal Breath towards the direction of a random player, and the winds will grant players a haste buff or debuff, depending on their position to the boss. If you're standing in Tailwind, you will get a haste buff. Directions will change frequently. There's only one new ability. Downburst creates a circle, which increases in size, which deals damage if players come into contact with them, and also leaves a periodic debuff. This can be deadly if failed to avoid it. Use the tornadoes, which knock you into the air, to leap over this expanding circle. On your way to the last boss, you will again encounter the same type of enemies, which have their own abilities. Temple Adept uses Greater Heal to heal its allies up. Make sure to focus your interrupts on them. Executors will rally himself, which can be soothed but not interrupted. They also use Crashing Storm to deal AoE damage to all players. This large triangle is a grounding zone. If players or enemies are inside of it, all abilities will be redirected into the field, causing everything inside of it to be immune to spells. Make sure to not tank the enemies inside of it. Whenever a player is targeted by Lightning Lash, make sure to quickly walk into this field to redirect its damage, otherwise this can be deadly very quickly. And these packs of stars are similar to the Imps from Court of Stars. They are non-elite, but they pack a punch. Stun and crowd control them before they annihilate a random player with their unpredictable random damage. Last boss Assad again keeps its 2010 charm from Cataclysm. Chainletting has nowadays a circle around the targeted player, so make sure to stay away from your allies. The Skyfall Nova ad must be focused immediately, which just radiates damage around them until defeated. Static Cling will not root players as it did back in the days, but snare them for 90% movement speed reduction. Players can jump before the boss finishes its cast to avoid getting hit by this. And whenever Assad spawns his grounding field, make sure to go in there really quick and remain there until he finishes his supremacy of the Stormcast. Players outside of the grounding field will die very quickly.